Thanks very much for the opportunity for us to come in and talk about AI answers this afternoon. We just want to take you through a walkthrough in terms of the background and context in terms of where we came from, do a bit of a demo as well. We'll get into a little bit of the details of AI answers as well, and looking a little bit under the hood, and Ryan will take us through that. So, just a little bit from a framing standpoint. So, what was the origin of AI answers? We know that a lot of people, when they come to use Canada.ca, they struggle to get the answers they need. How do we know that? Well, we get about 3,000 comments or feedback on a daily basis that tell us that people aren't finding the information they need, and it's not really anybody's fault necessarily. If you think about a site the size of Canada.ca with the number of pages, the number of institutions, the complexity of information, it's um, not surprising, and we think that um, AI can help. But let's just talk a little bit about the impact of that when people don't get the answers they need. We know that when people are forced to resort to other channels and they can't self-serve digitally, that either triggers a phone call, an in-person visit. We also see lots of instances where people make mistakes and they're unintentional. Right? If you didn't understand the eligibility criteria or a filing date, you may do something and it wasn't intentional, and sometimes those can be costly. On the other side, we know that it it's less expensive if people are able to self-serve. And so we think that there's an opportunity to deliver or get answers at a lower cost. We also know, and this is an important topic overall within AI, but that people, when they can't get services the way they expect them and they can't get them in a timely way, if they're not accessible, it really impacts trust in government. So that leads us to thinking about AI answers. So what are we trying to do with AI answers? We're trying to get people quick, accurate, very important. We'll unpack that a little bit, and tailored answers about GC services from an AI-based system. So AI, one of the things that people will talk about often is hallucinations when it makes things up or things are inaccurate. Um, but the reality is that accuracy is not just a feature that should be thought of. It's actually a responsibility. It's in the comms policy for departmental heads of comms to be accountable for accuracy. And one of the questions we've gotten several times, it's a fair question. Why not just use off-the-shelf solutions? Why not use ChatGPT? Um, or you know, and so that's a fair question. And what we've done is we've gone and done some benchmark studies of other chat solutions that have been built internally, but also of things like ChatGPT. And we know that the accuracy isn't anywhere near what it should be. Using a standard set of questions that often get asked in Canada.ca, ChatGPT was about 56%, and that's not going to be satisfactory when people are looking for not just an answer, but an answer that's correct. And so um, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan, and he's going to really speak to the next slide, which really speaks to, what's the difference between what we've done with AI answers and what you would see um, in a public off-the-shelf solution, that whether you're using Claude or ChatGPT or what solution, what's the difference?
Excuse me. So yeah, to answer the question about how we're achieving our accuracy rates, it's through GC specific context engineering. What you're seeing here is a high level comparison between a commercial off the shelf chat experience and a GC tailored pipeline designed for reliability, traceability, and high accuracy responses. The top diagram is a commercial chat experience. Question comes in, it passes through the generic input guardrails. designed only for broad harm protection and generally no PI protection. The model generates an answer using generic context, and then it passes through another generic harm filter. There is no GC alignment, no departmental grounding, and no ability to trace how an answer was produced. Now moving down to AI answers, the bottom diagram, going left to right. On the left, the input guardrails are much stronger. They don't just look for generic harm, they also just privacy and GC specific harm considerations. The guardrails include algorithmic, LLM based, and content safety moderation APIs, which together form a multi layered guardrail system. These layers detect, block, and sanitize harmful content in PI before it can propagate through the rest of the pipeline. In the central context layer, the system draws on GC system instructions, departmental scenarios provided by SMEs, GC only web content, previous question answers, SME validated golden answers. So what this means is every response is grounded in GC aligned data rather than generic knowledge or out of date training data. As we move further right, instead of relying on one large LLM response, the architecture breaks the task into a pipeline of smaller specialized agents. This multi-agent approach produces answers that are more consistent than a single agent setup. It also has the added side effect of being more cost effective because these focused smaller agents use fewer compute resources while still delivering high quality outputs. And finally, on the far right, enhanced output guardrails check for accuracy, bias mitigation, GC specific harm, and overall quality before the answer is delivered. And then on the bottom right of the diagram, we have a continuous evaluation loop that monitors for accuracy and consistency. This is both automated through LLMs and with SME experts, human in the loop. So to summarize, we are continuously iterating, refining guardrails, expanding context, and enhancing agent performance while maintaining system consistency, accuracy, and reliability. Back to you, Bill.
Thanks, Ryan. So I think what I'm going to do at this point, if I can get it to work, is I'm going to switch over to AI answers and just take everybody through a few questions just to really highlight in many cases. I had these saved, and I'm just going to use this as an opportunity. Let me see if I'm gonna, it always is the gremlins, the presentation gremlins. And so I'm just going to highlight a few things as this comes up. You know, some of the features. We typically do this in a longer demo situation, but we're compressing it. And so you'll notice a couple of things. We compress the information into short, understandable bytes. It's not intended to repeat all of the information. It's intended to distill it into something that's understandable. There are some other things, that we are, from a design standpoint, if you look at the bottom here, we're not providing a whole list of citations, right? It often will lead to issues and confusion. Which one's the right one? Which one should they trust? One citation. So there's some interesting things that are a part of the overall solution design. A lot of thought went into the user experience. I'm just going to try to, I'll go to another type of question, and I'm going to kind of paste it in here. So we get questions. The number one issue that people have with the government of Canada is signing in by far. It's the number one issue. And so I'm just showing you another example of a situation here where if you ask a question and it doesn't know, it will follow up with another question. It's going to ask for additional details. And so let's say, for instance, I go here and then I say CRA. What it's going to do then is, okay, now you've given me enough information. I have the context I need, and it's going to provide an answer. And again, similar thing. It's trying to, limit to 4 sentences, giving a concise answer, and then redirecting to the content where the answer is. And so this is what we're doing here. But I've intentionally done this because what I've done is to highlight another design feature. There's only 3 turns. So it's 3 questions that you can ask. I guess that'd be two turns, but three questions you can ask. That's a specific design feature because AI solutions will often drift as you ask them more and more questions. And so, from an actual design standpoint, that's a design feature. And so, I'm going to reload and I'm going to show a couple of the other features that are built into AI answers. Again, it's hard to sort of appreciate until you sort of dig in. Anybody that's really ever had to use Canada.ca and try to get an answer sometimes, and you just compare it against AI answers, you'll see in terms of the impact that it'll have. And so what I'm trying to do here really is to demonstrate is so you see I tried to provide, I did that really, really quickly, but I provided a name and a phone number. And so what the solution Ryan mentioned in terms of the guardrails, so there are some input guardrails that basically prevent private information from being sent to the LLM. So there are guardrails for privacy and a number of other things that are built into, and it won't even send the question. And AI Answers is informing the user, hey, look, you can't send personal information. It's been redacted. And so some of those features are built in. So I'm going to go on and show you another feature, which I think is really important. Believe it or not, we often have situations where people don't understand what's a federal versus a provincial versus a municipal responsibility. Um, and right now, you depending on the subject you're asking or looking for in the government of Canada, you might not ever sort of discern, and it's not really the job of the federal government to necessarily explain government and all the services. But what you'll see here is it's redirecting. It's not going to give you another citation, but it's basically telling you, hey, driver's license aren't the responsibility of the federal government. So another feature that's built in, and it's really important. We see lots of situations that people don't understand. Now, I'm going to show, and it's interesting, there was a language related presentation in AI. I'm going to copy, sorry, I got to get it to make sure I copy this right because obviously I can't key it in. I'm going to copy a question in Arabic. And this question is the English version of it is I am from France. Do I need a visa to visit Canada? And so I'm going to send that question along. And so full language support for any of the types of questions that you're getting. Interesting enough, we found that to get the best overall accuracy across all languages is independent of the language that the question comes in as. It translates it to English, answers the question, and then translates it back to the language that it was asking, even for French. That has to do, the AI models by and large are much better at handling English and providing a high level of accuracy in English. Uh, so I'm going to ask one more question just to show you in terms of now. I think I have a limit. I think is Santa Claus real? Um, time of the season. Keeping a little light this afternoon on a Friday. There are lots of subjects that people are going to come to and they're going to ask questions about, right? And so we have all kinds of safety, guardrails put in place about harmful questions. I didn't really want to get into any of those types of situations. But if the subject isn't, it doesn't fall to another government, but it's not, it's not a subject that Government of Canada provides an answer for. We help redirect people or inform them that the answer isn't found on Canada.ca. So that's it. I just try to highlight some of the features that are built into the design of the solution. There's lots of user experience testing. A lot of it has to do with, design that relates to giving accurate answers, putting in the guardrails, maintaining trust. So I'm going to flip back and I'm going to go to the last, am I in the, so I'm going to go back. I think the version of the deck I think I've got here on my computer is a little bit out of sync, but I'm going to show you this is the last slide that we have in our slideshow. And this really relates, this is the overall roadmap. And all I really want to point to here, that we are in the middle of doing testing and trials. We've done it around quite a few subjects that touch across the entire government of Canada, and we're right now doing trials with ESTC, ISK, Treasury Board, a bunch of other organizations to help understand how this is going to be operationalized inside of departments, because it hasn't been built in a model where you'll have this magical thing that's going to happen at the center. Anybody that is working close to AI or data, you understand that content and data are sort of the raw material, the ingredients that AI needs to be successful. And so that's a virtuous loop where you have to work on one thing and tweak the other. And so working closely with departments to understand how we deal with things like ROT and other subjects is really important. And so that's the work that we're doing now is working with partner institutions to understand how we can improve the solution, improve content, and continue to deliver highly accurate answers. We do plan to go to a pilot next fiscal year and then eventually roll it out on Canada.ca. I won't get into too many other details. That's essentially our presentation.